Hey, how you doing? As you know, if you've followed the channel for any length of time, I've trained with the Warmaster, Josh Barnett, on a number of occasions. So when he reached out to me and suggested that maybe we could do an interview for the channel, I jumped at the chance. We talked for probably the best part of 2 hours. Obviously, it was a Zoom call, a little bit glitchy, so I've had to edit some of it out, and I've chopped it into fairly easily digestible lengths. And, yeah, here's part one. So, Josh, thanks so much for agreeing to come on and talk to me.
Not hard to do when I'm the one who reached out so that we
Well,
could
yeah,
do it in the first place.
yeah, but you know, I mean, and I'm just this little English YouTuber, and yeah, to get someone of your caliber on the show is it's fantastic. Yeah, I'm really
Well,
pleased.
it just if anything, it should reinforce you on the path that you're going at the moment because I've been watching your videos for a while, and I thought, oh yeah, okay, I'm enjoying what's being said here and what's being discussed and how it's being done. So I'd like to join in.
Well,
That's
yeah,
what brought
that's
this about.
you know that's quite a nice endorsement. So yeah, cheers. What time is it? It's like mid-afternoon where you are, right? Because
Yeah,
it's
well, it's towards late afternoon at this
okay.
point.
Well, I guess I'm just saying, excuse me, I'm drinking whiskey while I'm talking to you. So
I all I'm drinking is coffee at the moment, but it pales in comparison to a good malt.
so talk to me about the Warmaster. What's going on in the
Uh,
Warmaster's world at the moment? Because
a lot,
okay,
a lot. Yeah, no, it's so much so that uh, at night it gets hard to wind down because you find with yourself with no real personal time left from the day, and yet a laundry list of things needing attention, managing, um, and then at the end of the day, you can't get too upset about it because it's by your own design. Because if you are
yeah,
striving to make something real in the world, it takes a lot to do it. Building things is massively difficult. Destroying them is very easy, in fact, and that's why most people criticize, and complain, but they don't build
yeah,
because building means is to want to make one vulnerable to the end product, to the critiques and criticisms that you yourself might put out there in the world and assign to somebody else's project. Not to say that there isn't a need for critique and criticism, there is, but also building something takes a substantially greater amount of effort, energy, and includes like a near universal amount of failure to before you finally get it right,
yeah.
and I've never come across anything that really ever worked on the first try that I went at it.
No, well, do you know? I mean, that's one of your lines that I remember from when you were over in London and I was training with you. That you just about grappling in general is that if you aren't failing, then you aren't really training. And I guess you're right. That applies to pretty much anything. If you're trying to grow and build something and expand, then you're going to fail, or you're not actually trying very hard.
Yeah, and I find that when it comes to grappling, a lot of people get into that. They start off with, if they can hang it, if they can hack it, they'll start off with a growth mindset. Then they'll get to a point of comfort, and then they'll just stay there. And they
Yeah,
will fight harder to stay in their space of comfort than they will or ever had towards their journey on growth.
yeah,
Right? They'll take the difficulty and the suffering for only as long as it takes to get to a point of what one could call like an acceptable mediocrity.
yes, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely, yeah. And I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, I'm obviously we're in very different leagues when it comes to grappling, but I've recently kind of thrown myself into jiu-jitsu after a fairly
Mhm.
serious injury. I can't really do stand-up wrestling anymore, which is, well, it's a shame, but you know,
Mhm.
the catch gives me a certainly a different flavor in jiu-jitsu. But I'm good enough that I can coast through the evening. You know, if I pick who I roll with, I can do pretty well all night and go away and go, yeah, I've had a good night. But I haven't actually got any better. And
Mm.
it's really difficult to say, you know, I can just win, or I can pick people who I know are going to challenge me and beat me and put myself in difficult situations on purpose and hopefully come away a better grappler. And it's
Well,
it's
that,
tough.
it's I one of the things that I used to do all the time and still do, given certain opportunities, is I end up with somebody that I know I can run my general program on them, and there's not a thing they could do about it.
Yeah,
So what I'll do is I make alterations. I will specifically work towards only a set of techniques that I want to try and improve upon or integrate in a different way.
yeah,
I'll deliberately give up bad positions to work out of them. I'll deliberately allow people submission attacks that I wouldn't normally. There's always a way to find find a pathway in which you can handicap yourself
yeah,
or start from behind the eight ball, so to speak. And with that, well, one of the easiest ones is just pick a particular type of skill set or submission and dedicate towards that no matter what the outcomes are.
yeah,
And then over time, go through those outcomes and pick what is good about it and learn from those experiences. And one of my typical examples I like to give is Victor Henry had never wrestled before
right,
meeting me. And at one point, I just told him throughout his training, I just go, all right, that's it. So for the next 3 months, you're not allowed to use guard at all. You cannot go to your back.
yeah,
You cannot use guard. You have to wrestle from these positions. And then we worked on all his techniques from referee positions for escaping, countering, submissions, reversing, and everything. And he had to just wrestle from there. And I can tell you that 3/4 of the time he hated it because he didn't understand it like he understood the things that he was already familiar with, in this case guard.
yeah,
But he was suffering now against guys that he normally was beating or holding off without any issue. And
yeah,
now that he had put himself into a training situation and position that he was at a severe deficit, you have to have some real mental toughness to go through it. But now, you know
yeah,
taking that kid's back is really difficult.
yeah, yeah,
Staying there even harder. He is a monster from that position and gives everybody absolute fits. But that would never have happened if he wasn't made to operate from this position, not just because it's a place that he doesn't wrestle from, but also because with me, in this case, as his coach, I could put him in this scenario and then work with him through his difficulties and accentuate the positive elements, see what his natural tendencies are down here, and then work with it. Because a lot of times people also make the mistake of trying to hammer the individual into the mold so distinctly that it ruins what might be actually good about their own natural proclivities and physical aspects, right? Because not
yeah,
everybody's arms are the same length, and hell,
yes,
not everybody's forearm to bicep ratio is the same length, right? These
yeah,
things all make a big difference in terms of the mechanics of how you apply moves, and then how do you think and feel as a person, and how does that influence what you're going to do out there? So, by me being able to oversee this, I could then look at what he's doing and make adjustments, and not just make adjustments that I think are the universal overall, but also specific to him. And another situation like that is when he came to me, his previous coach, and with good intention, had really taken or diminished any taekwondo of Victor's background, and almost treated it as something, as a separate entity from his training that would have
okay,
to be uh, he'd need to be taught out of. Whereas when I started working with him, I said, no, 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 no. You've been doing Taekwondo. You're a second-degree black belt. Why would I get rid of something you've already
yeah,
spent so much of your life accumulating? How do we actually take what you do and integrate it into your overall game plan? And it made a completely different fighter out of him.
Yeah, I mean, he's a joy to watch. So clearly one of you's doing something well.
But as far as me, like I've got a big match against Masakatsu Funaki in Pro Wrestling Noah,
Hmm.
September 3rd in Osaka, Japan. So we've got, one of the pioneers of modern MMA and Japanese shoot wrestling, and Funaki, someone who got to train directly under Gotch,
Yes.
taken on myself, who got to train a little bit under Gotch, but a lot under Billy Robinson. And I
Yeah.
come from that same lineage. And in fact, my original coach, Matt Hume, had time spent with Funaki over in Japan. And he got to train a little bit under Gotch too when they'd be over there, and Gotch would run training sessions. Minoru Suzuki told me this great story. He goes, Suzuki sees that Matt Hume is keeping a notebook and everything as they train, and he's like, "Oh, that's so great! He's really dedicated to learning the techniques and picking things up." So Suzuki goes to Gotch and he goes, "Oh, hey, Matt Hume, he's keeping a notebook, man. He's really dedicated." And Gotch's response was, "Tear it up, destroy the notebook. This doesn't get to get written down. He doesn't get to keep, and Suzuki the whole time was just like, oh, I thought I was like basically giving him a one-upman to the, or
Yeah.
like a props to Hume, and like, oh yeah, Gotch really think this is, he'll appreciate it more. In fact, that's the way he took it. But uh, but even still, I'm really looking forward to getting a chance to get in the ring with someone like Funaki, because he's
Yeah.
also in incredible shape for someone at his age.
How old is he now?
50 something,
Okay.
very
Yeah.
fit.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it should be a fun one. I'll
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Well, we just completed another catch wrestling tournament down here in California.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I caught
Yeah.
some of the live stream when it was on. Tell me about it. How did it go? How many fighters? Was it good? Was the quality high?
We had over 40 signups for this one,
Okay.
which is pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're glitching a little bit. It's okay. I can tidy it up. It's fine. So
Oh yeah, I'm here. You're just
is it me?
you're just caught in there you go.
Okay. So how's catch doing globally? I mean, you've got a kind of a bigger overview than me, and
I think you nailed it though. I mean, and I last camp I did with Jake, I pointed this out, and that is catch is on the verge of a kind of odd acceptance and extinction all at the same time.
yeah, I mean it's hard to know what to do about it because it feels a little bit like everything that we do that works well just gets absorbed into generic no gi,
Yeah.
and the stuff that you could almost argue limits catch a little. I mean, I'd say that gives it its distinct character, like
Mm-hmm.
the pin,
Mm-hmm.
just seems to. I don't know. And I've got a little group of guys that I train with, and I kind of coach a little bit, and I make them fight to a pin a lot, and they're all predominantly from a jiu-jitsu background, and they hate it. But I think, I mean, in the space of 2 months, they've all become such better fighters just because
Mm-hmm.
they've got a little bit more understanding of where they're going and what will happen when they get there.
I think that comes from uh, just how do I put this? It's not that someone's stupid. It's not about superior or inferior. I think it's just that they're being coached with a lack of understanding, and that is, what is passing guard. It's not just getting out of someone's guard. It's to
Yeah,
score a pin.
yeah,
What are all the points that score except for taking the back? Pins. It's all
yes,
about pinning. And this is why, Danaher has now changed his whole program to now it's just pin,
yeah.
pin, 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 pin. It's like, well, okay. Not to mention, apparently there's the clock theory of jujitsu I saw
Really?
somewhere.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Um,
In any case, but the
yeah,
point being is that pinning is a part of jujitsu. They just didn't understand it or recognize it as such. It's just that
yeah,
you get 3 points for a pin instead of a fall and a win. But I especially teach catch to the MMA side of things
Yeah.
in the training room, because all these high level grapplers will score these takedowns and not keep the fight on the ground, and therefore they've basically lost what was important about scoring the takedown in the first place. And look, takedowns are hard work. So if you
Yeah.
spend a whole ton of effort trying to score a takedown only to have the guy just get right back up again, who
Yeah.
do you think spent more energy in that whole exchange, you or them? And
Yeah.
generally it's you, because you spent the energy for the takedown. They just walked up to the wall, shrugged up on it, and boom, away they went. And they do this 2 3 times in a round, you're going to be really out of breath unless you can control that person.
Yeah.
Habib would not have been Mr. Smash Machine if he couldn't keep him on the floor. You
Yeah.
have to fight in a different manner. And the thing is, everyone, goes all crazy about using a 2-on-1 wrist right on bottom and scooping a leg into like I don't know, like scooping the ankles into kind of an Iowa ride from in the reverse position. But they missed the point. It's not about moves. It's about, well, why is he even bothering to do all this stuff? And it's to keep the fight on the floor so he can continue to apply his wrestling skills, break his
Yeah.
opponents down, and score his strikes in a superior position. But the jiu-jitsu guys haven't quite figured out. They'll get to MMA, and if they're not so dominantly better at jiu-jitsu, they don't understand that they got to pin that opponent. And you watch Buchecha versus was it Rogrug? He can't, an Abu Dhabi champion can't keep a Senegalese wrestler down
Yes.
enough to submit him. And,
Yeah.
going to guard, the guy's not going to stay there. That's not going to do you any good. And it just, this has happened plenty of times. Marcelo Garcia goes into
Yeah.
the ring one time, bang,
Yes.
beat up, split open, gotten rid of. Salo Ribeiro, same thing. Uh, and these guys are all incredible at jiu-jitsu, but when it came to fighting, it wasn't enough.
Yes.
And that's, very common. And it doesn't have to be just about jiu-jitsu. If you're a wrestler and you can't keep it on the floor, then it's the same issue is going to be presented to itself. But I think that, you know, if we're to try and do anything to keep catch alive as itself, um, we need to have catch wrestlers doing catch wrestling. And
Yes.
that's bar none. And that's the thing I've been adamant about since day one. And I've picked fights, been a part of fights online in discussion, created, people called it some kind of contention and animosity, but I can't help the fact that people don't want to actually do it. They want to talk about it, they want to
Yes.
theorize it, they want to post videos about it, but they don't want to do it. And you look at a guy like Johnny Buck, who grew up entirely as an amateur wrestler and doing catch under Johnny Husky and Billy Wicks.
Yeah.
He's a 10th Planet School now. And
Yeah.
why is that? Because what's the point of calling yourself catch wrestling? Because there's not enough that would bring a large enough audience to serve your school and to serve a student base, let alone most people are going to be like, well, I don't know what that is, but I'll do the jiu-jitsu school down the road. And then when you go and compete, and plus there's no support system, right? I mean, I know that we have organizations, so to speak, but they don't have funding, marketing, or anything at the level of a jiu-jitsu one would.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully we're trying to change that a little now. I know Jake's got very big plans, and
Yes.
it's it's quite exciting to be starting to be a little bit more involved with that. And I think that there's a potential that we could do something. But I think it's really interesting, isn't it? Because I mean, jiu-jitsu, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's not that it's softer, but it's. I mean, I'm 50, and I
Mm-hmm.
spent 3 years out after breaking my femur,
Mm-hmm.
and when I decided I couldn't possibly not do something, it became very apparent very quickly that I couldn't really wrestle properly. So I took up jiu-jitsu. And yeah, I'm a little bit limited in what I can do, but I can do jiu-jitsu. I can turn up, I can train, I can roll, I can compete. And is catch 2 too aggressive, too violent?
No, it isn't. It really isn't. I think it's just a popularity issue and a noteworthiness, right? It just doesn't have the cachet of under common understanding to get what we want out of it. To the point that a lot of people just wouldn't even know about it in any substantial way to choose a catch school over a jiu-jitsu school. And then in that argument, what place do you live in where there is a catch school of any high level notoriety, like, or one at all? So good luck with that. And on the same token, like, these people that want to do or present themselves as catch wrestlers, why are they not doing jiu-jitsu competitions? It's still a form of wrestling.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm constantly harping on people, go compete. Well, it's not catch. It's not catch. Well, I don't care. I mean, to be honest, that's a variant of the same disease I see with the jiu-jitsu communities, where they will refuse to do catch wrestling stuff.
Yes.
They're so adamant about trying to make sure they can pull guard and not get slammed or whatever, that they will absolutely do anything but. And they're, oh, what, there's no skill divisions? Oh, I won't do that. It's like, oh, you really need that blue belt, 2-stripe, third place out of 3 medal? Like, come on, don't be a loser. That's a loser mentality. It's not about being a jiu-jitsu person. It's about just being weak, and that's weak.
That's my guaranteed gold medal. I mean, I turn up with Masters 500 kilo blue belt. I'm the only one in the country, right? I think you're right. Is get self-proclaimed catch wrestlers competing and holding their own in non-catch wrestling competition. It's got to be the way forward. But I mean, who is there? Who's out there that could do it? Because there's, I mean, historically, obviously, wrestlers they'd learn catch, they'd do the amateur thing, then they'd turn pro and make a bit of money and get moving to coaching, and the next generation would follow along behind. And we've kind of got that with you, and with kind of the Japanese wrestlers that have all gone through that, and they're all kind of at the end of their competitive life, and I'm assuming are mainly moving into coaching now. Who's following on? Where's the next generation? Have we got one?
I don't know yet, because there are folks out there that are teaching, but they're not really competing. And it's really unfortunate, but there isn't really a lot of overlap within the largest groups that are out there. The one thing I can say is the Snake Pit in Wigan has been ever consistently growing what they do, and then opening up to these accreditation courses and making it months long, that you have to go there and be under Roy and whatever his students, whoever the assistant coaches are there. Now that they're also doing a British championships. Now they're going to do a world again. And when I've been approaching Andrea about bringing a team from the US for years and trying to get this together, and at every single point of it, her response is nothing but, I really want that. I hope that's the case. We really look forward to you and yours being here and being a part of this as much as possible, because they want to grow what they're doing. They have a presentation that looks appealing and aesthetic. But the thing is, as much as it's getting more competitors to go out and compete in it and join in it, it's expensive to get from here to there. And it'd be nice if maybe other people in Europe would make the trip, but again, it's catch, so it's tough for us to get what we can get. And at the same time, I'm not going to complain that there's no chokes or strangles. I don't care. And the pin's more of a freestyle 1-second pin. Fine. I have my own opinions towards the philosophy of a game structure for catch, but so what? I'm going to go compete because I want to support people that are doing things in what I feel is a legitimate way, with sincerity towards growing what is available.